It's time to cut the goat weed down so it hopefully doesn't go to seed. While he does that, I'm gonna go weed eat around the trees and fertilize them with these fertilizer sticks. This main peach tree died, but it sent up water sprouts and they're rooted in, so that's what we're keeping. These spikes come with a little cap to make it easier to push into the ground. Here's a little update of the orchard. These figs are doing pretty good. I think we got 6 or 7 off of it. Here's a pear tree that's doing real well. Our lone apple. Another pear tree that needs to be thinned. It was pretty good because it was crunchy. These trees line our future driveway, and we have to keep the cows from them so they don't break them rubbing on them, so we have to mow that individually. And I fertilized these trees too. This limb is now in the stock tank. It's used for fish structure. The weather wasn't too bad this day, and we've been meaning to get this tree kind of cleaned up and in a brush pile. We're going to move it away from that tree before we burn it. 2/3 of it has fallen off, so it's still clinging to life, but the rest of it's a big old mess over there. Clementine has injured one of her legs, the back left, and so we have to treat that. This stuff probably burns a little bit, so I got it pretty good here, but now she avoids letting us have that leg. Now watch Ladybird and where she's going. Pretty smart. And here's Derek's little buddy. The first 2 days of getting the pigs, they weren't really eating, and we assumed they were eating grass because they're pasture pigs. But we added some corn to their feed and they went after it. But they still get marshmallows every day or they'll get upset. Many of y'all were concerned about their swimming pool in the last video, so we did make them a wallow and they love it. The baby turkeys are growing like crazy, and we harvested the guineas in here because they're so annoying. I even bought some cool bags for them. The girls are glad we grew so much watermelon. Now that super summer's here, it's time to think about fall. This is my fall garden I've already planned out on paper. I've also gotten the dates for when I need to start these. The way you figure that is you find your plant zone. We are in a zone 8. Then based on your zone, you look up the first average frost date. And for us, that is November 15th. Then look on your seed packet to tell you how many days after transplanting or direct sowing it is to harvest. Then count backwards from the first frost date. Broccoli's a bad example though because it can withstand frost. Butternut squash does require a little bit of heat to germinate, so I started a little sooner, plus it takes a little bit longer to get growing. It will not take any frost. Now, if you live in Texas, there's an article I will put in the description box. It's put out by Texas A&M, and it'll give you a schedule for when you can garden in the fall. Crops like lettuce, peas, and kale will do well in the early spring and in the fall into a frost as well, but they will not do well in the summertime. Crops like carrots, beets, and radish will do very well in the fall, also in the spring, but in the fall you have the advantage of leaving them in the ground and having the sugars concentrate with a frost. I have yet to grow a carrot over about 1.5 inches, so this year I am determined to do it. It is time to start the seeds for my fall garden. This is the lighting I used. Any LED will work, and I use seed starting mix because it's a lighter and the seeds can emerge from that easier. I pre-moisten the soil. You want it moist enough to hold together, but not to squeeze out any moisture. I bought these seed starting trays from Amazon and they have little domes on top of them. And this tool came with it. So you want to read the back of your seed packet to see how deep you need to plant your seeds. I typically plant 2 seeds per cell, but a lot of times it's hard for me to thin seedlings, so I end up growing more than I can ever use because I don't want to throw them away. This is vermiculite to help prevent mold and to keep in moisture. For more professional video on seed starting, go to Garden Answer on YouTube. This is 10 days later and it's time to transplant these to something bigger. My plants get stretched, so they keep growing day and night because the temperature isn't cooling off in the evening all that much. But to combat this, I plant them really deep. They grow roots a little further up, and it actually makes the plant stronger that way. And then I water them to make sure all the soil fills in around the seedling. This is the weight of just one frame. A honey super weighs about 60 to 80 pounds. We got 240 pounds total for the harvest this year. Due to weather delays, we're doing a second honey harvest after our 4th of July harvest and inspecting the hive quickly, treating for mites, and setting up hive beetle traps. When we do a quick inspection, we're looking at how much brood is in the hive, how much eggs and larvae, just to make sure the queen is still laying and still alive. We did lose 2 hives this year. This is the Apivar strips we use for mite prevention. We have to put that on there at least once a year. It does not affect the honey when you use Apivar, but other strips can do that. If you do not treat for mites, you will not succeed with honey. Even in the commercial business, there is a 44% loss in bees every year. But anyway, this is the hive beetle trap. This is a hive beetle. They just cause problems. I won't go into detail about it, but this little juice attracts them in there and they can't get out and they drowned. The jalapenos are ready. I'm wearing gloves because I had a little taxidermy incident with a scalpel blade. Also, the other day I was making crushed red pepper and I washed my hands, but later on I blew my nose and my nostrils were lit afire. I'm making candied jalapenos or cowboy candy. If you haven't had it yet, you're missing out. You chop it up, add some of the juice, and mix it with cream cheese. Eat it with wheat thins. It's delicious. You can add it to tacos, sandwiches, a turd. It's gonna taste good. They don't look very cooked down, but when you put it through the pressure canner, it does cook them quite a bit. If you have any leftover juice, it'll make a good meat marinade. Derek made some apple butter. Then he used Carolina Reapers to make a Diablo butter.